If you are into fish farming, you probably already know that feeding is everything. But are you feeding your fish the right way or not? In this video, I will show you the exact way of feeding your fish to ensure proper growth so that they grow faster, stay healthy, and make you more profit. And we shall look at the right feed quality, the right size, the quantity, and the timing. Basically, there are 4 things you have to take note if you say that you should feed your fish rightly. In other words, to feed your fish in the right way, these 4 things should be taken into consideration. So stay watching as we take you through one by one. The first has to do with use feed with the right nutritional quality. Every stage of catfish or any other fish, either tilapia or whatever, it needs different nutrition. Fry and fingerlings need high protein, which should be about 40 to 45% for fast development. But as the fish get bigger, you reduce the protein slightly and balance with more energy content. As they are still smaller, they need more protein for growth and development. But when they grow bigger, they need more protein. They need more carbohydrate or energy content. That's why you should take the right nutritional quality. The second thing you have to also notice that you have to choose the right feed size. As the feed are pelleted into sizes, make sure that you give the right pellet fish feed to the right fish at a time. The size of the pellet should match the mouth of your fish. Small fish need tiny feed size like 0.2 to 1 mm for fry and fingerlings. While they grow, they also graduate from that smaller feed to bigger feed. So if the feed is too big, they struggle to eat it. If it's too small, it gets wasted. So make sure that you always have the right size for the right fish. Personally, I always observe how my fish handle the feed. If I see too much struggling or waste, it's time to change to the next size. The third thing you have to note, which is very important, is feed the fish with the right quantity. That's the feed ratio. Feeding too little, your fish won't grow, and feeding too much, you will waste feed and pollute the water. So base your feed ratio on fish size and number. And what is important is to monitor how they feed. But one might ask, Abdul Aziz, how do you ensure that you give the right quantity of feed to the fish at a time? And I will tell you that the best way to understand or to monitor that is to use the responsive feeding method. The responsive feeding method is giving the fish the feed small at a time, observe how they react to it or how they take it, and you add them if the need be, until you notice that they have slowed down or they are no more active in taking the feed. Then you can conclude that they are okay. But if you just come and pour the feed into the pond and go away, the likelihood of them wasting it is high. So to ensure the balance of overfeeding and underfeeding, use the responsive feeding method. If that is not clear enough and you still want to learn more and practical ways of doing that, I have other video on the channel which talks about the responsive feeding method and other feeding methods. Check it out and watch it, and we shall learn together. Now, having learned how to feed your fish with the right quantity, that is also we come to the fourth and the last important thing, that is feeding the fish at the right time and the right frequency. I will explain this to you. Feeding at the wrong time can affect digestion and growth. Feeding in the early morning and late afternoon when the temperature is cooler. Now, when you are feeding fish and they are smaller, they take little, and within shortest period of time they are hungry again. And for that matter, small fish like fingerlings, you can feed them 2 to 3 times daily. Recommended times: morning, afternoon, and evening. But as they grow to bigger fish, you can graduate from 3 times, especially if they are juvenile and above. You can now feed them twice a day, morning and evening. And as they grow to mature fish, you can now feed them once a day. But if you are using the responsive feeding method, you will ensure that you give them enough quantity that can keep them till the following day, then you feed them. Now, I'm talking about 2 things here: feeding them with the right time and frequency. If you talk about the right time, if you have chosen morning and evening, which is what I recommend, then make sure that the right time has to do with the time that they will have high appetite for the fish, for the feed. For instance, during extreme hot weather condition, feeding them early morning before the sun is hot is ideal. That's the right time. And waiting till the sun sets and the temperature is a bit cool, feeding them at that time is ideal. That is the right time. Likewise, if it is a very cold weather condition, for instance, either Harmattan season in West Africa or during winter in other parts of the world, then it is not ideal to feed them early morning. Wait until the sun rises, the weather becomes a bit hot, then they will have high appetite, and then you can feed them at that time. And then before the weather is also cold in the evening, you can feed them. So if I said the right time, these are the things that you should consider. And the right time also has to do with if you have done anything in the farm. For instance, either you have changed water, you have sold them, and they are stressed, don't feed them. That also counts the right time. Or don't feed them immediately and do something that will stress them. So make sure that you always feed them at the right time. It is very broad, and we get a separate video to talk more about that. And we talk about frequency, the right frequency. You need to have the same time in feeding your fish. Make sure that if you have chosen this period to feed your fish, all things being equal, stick to that time. I'm saying all things being equal because if nothing has happened, that you have not stressed them, there's no change in weather condition, stick to that. I'll give you a scenario. If you have chosen 8 a.m. in the morning and you are feeding them, stick to that time. 30 minutes late or 30 minutes earlier wouldn't have much effect on them. But don't delay them too much, or don't feed them very earlier than the usual time. If you have chosen in the evening 5 p.m., make sure you stick to that. That's the frequency that I'm talking about. The reason is that if you have not stick to that and you always fluctuate, if you feed them and then it has not getting to the hours that you are supposed to give them the next meal, that you are not stick to that, it means they might have not digested the previous meal or feed, and for that matter their feed intake will be low. If you also delay that much and there's a lot of vacuum between the two feeding periods, they're also likely to eat each other, and that is cannibalism. And if you observe, even if you're a beginner, put that observation. When you start feeding your fish and you stick to a particular time, the fish will get used to that time and they'll adjust their eating to that period. And any time you come around in the pond at that same time, they are likely to respond to the feed because they have developed their mental set that they are ready for the feed. Either morning or evening, whatever time you choose, observe it. But if you have not stick to a particular time, then they will not be okay, and sometimes you will come to feed them and they will not be ready for the feed. So if you stick to one particular time, and that is the frequency, even when it happens that you are going to feed them at a time which is not during this period, you realize that their response to the feed will be very low because they have not prepared for the feed at that time. So please, and a big please, time of feeding and frequency of feeding is very important. I have taken you through these 4 things. If you ensure that you have met all these 4 criteria, we can say that you are feeding your fish rightly. If you are not doing this, please implement that and you see changes in your fish growing. Thank you so much for watching. If you have inspired by the video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Leave a comment in the comment section. My name is Abdulaziz Issa, and all we do in this channel to share fish farming tips based on our experience and research. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.